I bludgeoned Medunamun with this.
I hate that we have to do these things. But I am grateful that you did.
You ever get that random urge to revisit something from your past? I do all the time. Could be a favorite book, classic movie, or a song that's been stuck in your head. Looking at you, Hamster Dance. Recently, I had a hankering to spend some time in ancient Egypt. Since time travel doesn't exist, I'd had to settle for the next best thing, Assassin's Creed Origins. There's only one problem. I've already played it. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And yet I had this urge, this illogical, unholy urge to play it once more. But with only so many hours in the day, is it really worth my time to replay a game of such middling quality? Hi, I'm Haydu. I'm a Twitch streamer, and I replayed Assassin's Creed Origins to find out once and for all if it's really worth it to replay games. But first, some context. Since 2007, Ubisoft has released 12 major installments in the Assassin's Creed franchise. That's a lot. And I've enjoyed them all. I'm a total sucker for a historical setting. Transport me to a time in history and I will show up with a Diet Coke and a will to eavesdrop on people from a distance. But I've never replayed any of them, not a single one. It's not like replaying games is some faux pas, like wearing shorts to a funeral. It's not wrong if you like to replay games. I cannot stress that enough. I do it all the time. Like the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which I played through twice in a row just to get that platinum trophy. But time is finite. So I'm curious, why do we replay some games and not others? And why do we listen to songs over and over but not games? Everyone has a favorite song that we can listen to a billion times, much to the chagrin of our family, roommates, or sometimes pets. Sorry, socks. For some, music is best appreciated through repeated listening because it leads to higher levels of familiarity. Especially when that music is complex, that familiarity just makes the music better, more listenable. Repetition creates a certain level of intimacy between you and a piece of art. And that's sexy, baby. But since most songs clock in at around 3 minutes, listening to a song over and over isn't really much of a time sink. So maybe this is really about length. Games like Assassin's Creed Origins are long, requiring at least 30 hours head to toe. That familiarity can get diluted over the runtime, or worse, become oversaturated with monotonous happenings. Assassin's Creed does a good job at masking the same mission types as new experiences, but once you recognize the formula, it's hard not to see it for what it is. Window dressing. But it's not like we can't retread long-form media. Many people rewatch TV shows, myself included. Shows like The Wire or Breaking Bad can benefit from a second dance because you can better appreciate storytelling when you know how something's going to end.
Simple. See this? This the Kingpin.
This applies less to procedural shows, but there is certain comfort in knowing the outcome of events. Execution is everything, which is why I spent most of the pandemic rewatching The Mentalist again. The ability to predict the conclusion created a sense of order during a time when everything on the planet felt pretty touch and go. Good show though, check it out.
You're still wasting everybody's time with this nonsense.
There's also nostalgia. Music, TV, and movies of an earlier era can transport us through time. It's like time travel, but the good kind of time travel, not the freaky deaky kind where you go back and accidentally sleep with your grandma. Music can be a mnemonic device, and a single song can evoke a specific time and place in our lives, like a first kiss or the time I pooped my pants in line at the bank. True story. Of course, some things defy logic. My favorite movie of all time is Moneyball. I know shit about baseball, don't think the script is anything special, but for some reason, I can rewatch that movie at any time and at any place and have a pretty good experience.
You want me to speak?
We're not pointing you yet.
There's just something about it that makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and I think that can translate well into games. See, some games are actually made to be replayed over and over. Supermassive's games like Until Dawn and The Quarry have multiple endings. That invites players to replay the narrative to try and get a better outcome than the one I got, where literally everybody died horrible deaths. No! And multiplayer games like Fortnite, Fall Guys, and Apex Legends are based on gameplay loops, where the whole point is to keep you playing round after round, so the outcome is never the same twice. But bloated, story-focused RPGs are often less revisited because the moment-to-moment action is often repetitive and unfocused. See, Assassin's Creed Origins is a grab bag of the same 5 or 6 mission types that lack the complexity and nuance of similar games like The Witcher 3. Does it come down to design then, or is it a matter of writing? Because a well-written game doesn't guarantee a second thought. I played through the first Last of Us 3 times because the writing and performances were so visceral. I wanted to spend more time with those characters on their harrowing journey.
Well, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time,
I had somebody that I cared about.
But when I tried replaying The Last of Us Part 2, I barely made it past the point where spoiler gets hit in the spoiler with a spoiler club. And for the most part, the writing in that game was heads above the typical Ubisoft game. But I realized I didn't have the heart to revisit its dark, emotionally draining revenge story for a second time. I felt the same way about 2017's Logan, a movie I unequivocally loved in the theater but have never seen since. Hell, I've seen X-Men The Last Stand 3 times and that movie is doo-doo. But Logan? One and done. That was all I needed. For me, replaying games has to satisfy certain criteria. Mechanical, narrative, and environment are all factors in whether or not I want to go another round. So how does Assassin's Creed Origins hold up? Mechanically, not so great. It's not a unique game, with most of its mechanics gated behind a skill tree. For some games, replaying with different skills lets you experience it from a fresh perspective. But with Assassin's Creed, it's so easy to max out the skill tree that picking different skills wouldn't meaningfully enhance a second playthrough. It's also not a hard game. Unlike a real challenge like Dark Souls or Sekiro, Assassin's Creed Origins is a breeze. You have to go out of your way to challenge yourself, so revisiting it from a mechanical perspective offers little value. Good complex narrative filled with wonderfully rich characters can be worth revisiting. Plenty of games offer stories that are so inviting that another go would only enhance your appreciation. Assassin's Creed Origins does have some great character moments, but they're spread out over a 30-hour linear campaign. I mean, sure, you have some choice in which order you do missions, but that story is always going to be the story, and that story is meh. But a rich, immersive environment can just be a cozy place to spend your time. I've played Skyrim on Xbox 360, Xbox One, Switch, and PC because I'm a sucker for that world. I just like being in Skyrim, even for just a short while. Everything from the music to the layout of the towns reminds me of a time when I'd play games until the first hint of daylight came through the window. So, with its recreation of the Ptolemaic period of ancient Egypt, Assassin's Creed Origins does offer an environment I want to revisit, but is that enough? Because after 5 hours of hacking, slashing, and sneaking my way through story missions, clearing out bandit camp after bandit camp, I found myself struggling to find the will to go on. I'd already had my fill and was ready to call it a day. The real point of this video is that there is no universal rationale for whether or not you should revisit a game. Replaying something old and familiar can be rewarding, but it always comes at the expense of experiencing something new. Time is what you make of it, and if you feel like spending your time replaying an old Assassin's Creed game, then all power to you. And if you give up after 5 hours, there's no shame in putting it back on the shelf and trying something fresh. Cheers. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking it. And if you disliked this video, consider leaving a comment down below and letting me know why. Is it because I'm stupid? Probably. And if you feel like following me on twitch.tv/heydo, I'll be your best friend. Or your like second best friend. Or third, I don't know. I don't know how many friends you have. If you have a lot of friends, I'll just be like one of the crew, I guess. But if you don't, I'll be there. twitch.tv/heydo.